So welcome to the Music is Win podcast. Phil McKnight, in case you guys don't know him, he knows his gear. As you can see here, recognize this?
Yes.
This is a custom one-of-a-kind shirt.
Two of a kind. I got one too.
Oh, you got one, okay.
Yeah.
Two of a kind. Gear is Win, in case you guys are listening to the podcast. You may want to watch this one because we're going to be having a lot of toys on the screen. So you can watch on YouTube or just check out Instagram. We'll have some stuff that we throw up. Phil, last time we chatted, it was for quite some time. Not necessarily the last time, but one of my most memorable interactions with you was when we first got to Germany at GitCon in October. And do you remember any highlights of our conversation that lasted until like 3 a.m?
Yeah, I do. Mostly, I don't know about you, mostly for me, it was just exciting to talk to somebody who does what you do.
Yeah.
Water cooler talk almost.
Right. I also felt that way, and I also felt like I already knew you, so that was a really cool introduction there was no real breaking the ice for any conversations, and right. I learned a lot from you, and I learned that you like to drink some beers. And that's actually my first question. What is your favorite type of beer?
So for me, I wasn't a beer drinker like my whole life. Mm-hmm. I didn't drink beer. Well, even when I was in the Army, I didn't drink beer. Until a few years ago, a friend of mine took me to one of these microbrewery places where you sample.
Yep.
And I figured out the problem was I like dark beers.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah, well, because it is. I didn't like beer. I didn't like it, so I didn't drink it. You know what I mean?
So you didn't like the domestic lager type stuff.
And so what I learned was so here's the thing for me about beer. I like to try a new beer. That's kind of the excitement. It's this is going to sound weird, but it's kind of like sushi to me. Going to a sushi place, trying new sushi.
Yep.
Right? That's what beer is to me now. So when I go places, like when we were there in Germany, I'm like, okay, I go to the bar and I say, okay, what's interesting? Give me I don't care if it's a chocolate beer or whatever you got, a mint beer. Just, I want to try something different, but I lean towards the darker ones and I get to try a beer. So
beer rhymes with gear.
Yes.
And you may say that your approach to trying gear is a lot like beer, except you probably had more gear than beer. Right? I'm looking at the wall of that shrine behind you.
Oh, the pedals.
I don't know about if you're the same way, and probably a lot of guitar players or musicians in general who like gears, like you have this necessity to have it perfectly arranged and organized, and it almost makes you feel safe and secure in your palace. So how long did it take you to, again, highly recommend viewing this episode on YouTube. How long did it take you to assemble your current setup in that studio there?
You mean just the gear or just this?
Just this room, because this is kind of the backdrop for your YouTube videos.
This came because of YouTube.
Okay.
So I tend to I call it float. I float around the house. So I have in my house, there's an amp and guitars in every room of the house.
Whoa.
So wherever I'm at, I may just I'm playing in the front room now, or I'm playing in the, in the family room, so I never had a room with my stuff in it. It was just everywhere.
Yeah.
But then for YouTube, I'm like, I better put it in a place where I'm filming.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting though. My mind is slightly blown having an amp I don't know if I have enough amps to have an amp in every room. I'm sure you do, but I think that might be, I could definitely have a guitar in each room. So that might be something is it like hanging up or just sitting?
Oh yeah, they're hanging all through the house.
So it's actual decor.
Yes. And I hate admitting this stuff. This is the stuff that sucks to talk about. My wife made me put wall hangers throughout the entire house because I have a habit that is so horrible that it's a horrible thing to admit. I will put a guitar anywhere. I will lean a guitar against a cabinet. I will balance a guitar on a stool, and I'll just wherever I'm playing, I'll just take my guitar and just put it somewhere. And I've even talked about this in the past. I stick them in hampers, like your laundry hamper.
Yeah.
I'll just shove it in there real quick. So my wife begged me for years, just put hangers throughout the house, and just wherever I'm at, just hang a guitar, because she hates, seeing them laying places. And the reason that is because I have kids. So to me, practice time, music time, is a opportunity of happenstance.
Okay. That makes sense.
They also, like if my wife says, "Hey, we're going to go to the grocery store and grab some stuff for dinner tonight," that's 20 minutes of playtime. And so wherever I am when that happens, I just grab my guitar and start playing.
What's your guitar horror story? You seem to have put yourself in predicaments where you could knock something over, or what? What's the worst thing?
For me, I don't have one because, let me give you an example. I don't lay any PRSs around.
Okay.
I'm not laying my Les Pauls around.
Right.
Strats, guitars like a Strat, you can drop it a couple times. I mean, Jimi Hendrix set his on fire. It still works.
Yep. I recall that legend.
Yes. So the guitars that although I say that and I'm looking over my left and there's a PRS leaning against the wall right now.
Oh my gosh.
To my left.
You're sick, man.
But yeah, that's so. In my mind, if they get dented or dinged, those are the ones I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I want to use them.
So they're more like tools for you that you don't necessarily like place your hammer gently on the ground necessarily. No. Okay, well that makes sense. I wanted to bring up, speaking of PRS's leaning, I have it on a stand right here, but there is one very special guitar leaning. Maybe you'll recognize it.
Look at that.
This is... Did you know I named this guitar Baby?
Yeah, I did. I just don't know why.
Well, because she's my baby.
Oh.
The first, guitar I earned. But you guys will have... This podcast will be out by the time Phil's Sharpen My Axe video is out. And my reception video of this guitar back into my hands will also be out. So check out Phil's YouTube channel, and there's links for that in the description, in the show notes. But you'll have to go over to Phil's channel to figure out exactly what he did, all the logistics. But if you could give me your impression of this project and tell me a little bit about how you got the idea for the Sharpen My Axe series. Maybe start with that and then talk about this thing.
Sure. So I don't know how you feel about this, but when I do certain things on YouTube, and I'm sure you feel the same way, there are certain things that I I hit 25 million views.
Right.
And I don't know why. I tell people, the first time I hit 3,000 subscribers, I don't know why that was so important to me, but it was like, wow, 3,000. I think it was harder to visualize 3,000 people than it was to visualize anything past that.
Huh. Yeah, I think I felt like that I think I felt that same way, but when a video got 10,000 views.
Yes. And so for me, when the channel hit 25 million views, that was for some reason so epic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Because I think what hit me was there's only a few states in the United States that have over 25 million people in them.
I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, there's only Texas, I think Florida, New York, and California. So, so you think about this, you're like, wow, I've talked to enough people to fill most of the states. Not combined, but each.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I go, let's do something fun. And I go, let's do a contest. And what happened was I had this weird feeling. I said, well, if I give a guitar away, let's say you give a PRS SE away.
Yeah.
And you've done that many times. You give away, I think your channel gives away the most stuff I notice, right? To your fans.
Yeah, I definitely like to do giveaways. It's fun.
And so I was thinking about doing that, and then I got this weird feeling what happens if I give this PRS SE away, and the guy who wins it is me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's got,
That's always hard with the giveaways. It's I really hope somebody, both guitars, I've given away a couple PRS guitars, and both times it's gone to very deserving people, luckily. But yeah, I understand that concern.
So I thought, what can I do that where I think the people who win can really appreciate what they won? And so I was talking on a live broadcast, and I said, what if I picked 5 people, one for every 5 million people, and tricked out your guitars? And all you have to do is pay to ship it to me. I'll take care of everything after that. And this is what was really cool. Justin at GraphTech was watching the live show, and he just chimed in. He goes, "We would help support that, Phil. We'll provide parts."
Oh, that's sweet. So it was like a real spur of the moment, like organic thing.
Yeah, it just happened right then. Also, that made it to where I had to do it.
Yeah,
So
you are now accountable.
So I picked 5 people, and I tricked out their guitars, and that's what happened. On the whole idea that I get to decide what happens. You know what I mean?
Yep. So nobody asks you to do things. They basically submit their guitar to you and say, "Do your worst." In this case, his best.
Right.
And what are the things you typically? Obviously, it varies on guitar, but you kind of look at the pickups, or you look at the tuners, or what do you look for first?
So what I did instinctively for those, and yours too, is instead of looking at the guitar, I looked at the person, the player.
That's interesting.
Right? So if somebody said, and you can tell in a brief conversation, you can hear something when somebody's like, "Yeah, it has trouble staying in tune." I'm like, "Okay, well, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. Make sure the nut's right, the tuners work, everything works." So I looked at each one, and I still do, as, okay, this is the player. What would the player find interesting, or what would benefit them? And that's how I approached each one, and that's how I plan to keep approaching them as we do these, videos. Is, all right, get a sense of the person, and what can I do to make the guitar more aligned with them.
So without, like I said, go check out the Sharpen My Axe video for this particular guitar that I'm holding. But to give a little teaser or your synopsis of that video, what were your impressions?
So your guitar, what I thought about first, the first thing I thought about with your guitar was watching your videos. You'll do a video, and you're very in tune with the fact that, hey, this video is going to be stratty tone, so you grab your Strat. You know what I mean? You align the sound, the correct guitar tone with the correct style. Not everybody does that. So, some people will, like on YouTube, particularly, they'll do a metal song on their Strat with single coils. There's nothing wrong with that, but you will go, and consciously you can tell, like, this guitar, I'm going to use the Floyd Rose guitar for this type of video, and I'm going to use this style of guitar for this type of video. And so when I was looking at the guitar, I thought, what's cool is now Paul Reed Smith is more, like that SE245, that guitar right there was really Paul Reed Smith kind of doing a Les Paul.
Right.
And then now on the 594 that he does, even though that's a Les Paul, he realized that the coil splits were a good idea because you get more tone varieties.
That's just a spoiler alert. That's my favorite thing you did. Aside from the aesthetic, I don't know. I'm a sucker. Like I said, like we started this video off with, I'm just a sucker for stuff that looks nice and really, really nice improvements.
And that's what tied into the two things. So I thought, okay, if the guitar could be more versatile, then you could use it more. And then also, you seem very meticulous as a person. The conversation we had that night, you're a very meticulous personality, right? Which is a very good compliment. I hope you take it.
Oh yeah,
right?
Of course. I'm a psycho about certain things, but only internally do I sound like a psycho, I hope.
And that's why, if you notice, I focused on, like you said, the aesthetics. Hey, let's upgrade the knobs. Let's make these improvements too, because I thought, okay, these are things he'll appreciate because it'll make the guitar, like, to me, I know it sounds silly to me. You know what I love? I love the bone pickup rings so much more than the yellow ones.
Oh yeah, that was a massive upgrade. I mean, as far as the aesthetic goes, because the yellow ones sort of looked like I hadn't cleaned them or something.
Yes.
And you don't know how much time I spent trying to clean this guitar before you got it, because you do know your gear. Your channel is Know Your Gear, and you know your gear, so it's actually quite an accurate title. And I think that was the first compliment I paid you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Which is, it's about, knowing, right? Learning. figuring it out.
And you're an interesting person because it is so hard to not be biased when you're reviewing products and giving your opinions about them. So I think you are really unique in the way that you present logic and facts and still manage to, give someone your perspective, but not in a way that will necessarily influence them one way or another. And you even do you have little logos that appear depending on how you received the product, which I think is just another way for you to be transparent. And I just think that is so helpful. So if anybody's looking for any sort of gear review, if you find one on Phil's channel, that's the one you should take to the bank. And you're almost more about, and I'll let you correct me, but I feel like you're more about the actual gadgetry and what separates it from one thing to the next necessarily than the tone or like demoing them. And you do demos, but how would you describe what differentiates you from the plethora of other gear reviewers out there?
I think the only thing I agree. All right, obviously, like I like this analogy or I like this connection because I love Pete Thorne, right?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Pete Thorne?
Yeah. And me and Pete, just like you and I at GitCon had a conversation, and Pete and I's conversation I think really made sense to me. He's a demoer.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to see what a pedal can do, you give it to Pete Thorne, and he's going to show you.
Yep.
This is what this pedal can do. Okay. And I look at it like more of like a reviewer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much like I'm going to show you the best of it. I'm just going to give you, we're going to go just like a movie review. I'm going to give you hey, here's the things I liked. Here's some of the things I thought could have been better. And here's the things, that, you know what I mean? I'd take you down a little roller coaster of it a little bit.
Sure.
And the logic being, and the focus on that is one of the great benefits of YouTube is the fact that we can now experience gear through a video, right?
Totally.
The downfall, though, is we all know that is not the same. It's a virtual experience. It's not the same as touching it and trying it and playing it. So when I try to do a review, I'm trying to say, hey, look, I know you're not here touching it. So what can I relay to you that's going to get you close to understanding what it is like to be here with it so that you can make a more informed decision if you decide to buy it?
Why do you care so much about gear? Because it's obvious. I mean, when you're reviewing, there's extreme passion about the gear, and it's like I've never seen. You don't get overly excited, but you're talking about a freaking EQ pedal, and you're just like, and this and this and this and this. Like, why are you so excited about gear?
I think this is here's my theory. And I'll include you in this.
Okay.
Right, and see how close I get. My theory is that we all, us musicians, we all want to be next to music. It's all about music.
Uh-huh.
And through situations, through luck, through all the variables that apply, we all get to hopefully find a way that gets us as close to it as possible right? Mm-hmm. So some people are going to be Steve Vai, and they're going to tour the world being a guitar player, right?
Yep.
And some people are going to be Pete Thorne, and they're going to have to be the side guy. Or even to use Dave Weiner, right? He's the guy who can play like Steve Vai, but he gets to stand next to Steve Vai, right? You know what I mean? And neither of those situations are bad. That's just both two people that love music. They want to be close to it. They found two different paths to get there, right? And then there's going to be the guitar instructor in the back of a store somewhere. That's the guy that's like, hey, this is how I'm going to be close to music every day, right? And I think there's something wrong with us, and so I'm picking on you too, that says, I would rather find a way this way to be next to music than work a job with the benefits package and the 401k and
Uh-huh.
I'll open a music store. I'll review gear. I'll be a tech for a touring band. You know what I mean? Everybody just says, what can I do to be close to music? So for me, my way to be close to music, my thing that I can offer to the to the universe of music to be part of it was I'll spend my time in engineering. Kind of like you went to Berkeley and learned music.
Yeah.
Theory, so you could understand music, so you could teach music, you know what I mean, and be part of music that way. I said, okay, well, I'll be part of this education process, the gear process, because that's how I'll be next to music. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
no, that's totally makes a lot of sense. Just finding your place in the music universe is something that maybe not a lot of people. You may become overwhelmed if you're trying to forge a career in music. It's like, well, what does that mean? How do I go from being in my bedroom to being in the production studio with Justin Timberlake or something, or being on the stage with insert pop act or whatever here? So that's really interesting. So where did your experience come from to back up your passion?
Sure.
How do you know so much about gear?
So what I did was, and again, I'm kind of deferring to you because I'm curious too. So I wish somebody would have told me when I was 16 that there was all these musical paths.
Yeah.
What I was basically understood at 16 was you could be a rock star or you could be, nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
There was this one path, and that wasn't for me, so I didn't even look at that as an avenue, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did is I basically held music close to me all the time, but I joined the Army. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, well that's because that's what you're going to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's your day job sort of thing.
And then when I got out of the Army, of course I went to school, and then I got a job in the corporate world, right? Uh-huh. And I enjoyed all that. I got no I hated it. I couldn't wait to get out. I was fine with it. So what projected me here was, I got an interaction, which isn't important, with music one day. And it was like, wow, if I could just have this taste again, this little, interaction, right? And so I decided I'm going to start doing stuff. So I started building my own basses, my own bass guitars.
Wow.
And I go, okay, I'll start working on this, right? I'll start doing this. And I was doing it on the side, and then I started importing them, and it started doing well. And what I decided was, this is the funny part, working on the instruments was I was good at it, I liked it, but if you lock me in a room and make me work all day, it's not really what I enjoy to do. Right?
That's an important realization.
Yeah, I'm kind of people driven, so I want to interact with people. So I decided to open a music store. I go, okay, that's what I'll do next. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the next iteration of what I'll do.
Okay.
And so at the music store, we had a lesson academy to the store, and I did the repairs, of course, right? Because I already was established in the area as a person who could do that. And so I did that, and that's back to my original theory. That's how I'm going to be part of music, right? Yep. I'm going to help people make their decisions about products, and I'll have a lesson academy like you. We'll teach people how to play music, because that's the most powerful, I think, feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, right? That whole,
for me it is.
Wow, somebody, yeah, right? So it's really great to feel that way. And I have a joke I'll share with you. You know what the difference is between selling a guitar and selling a TV is?
No.
Okay. If all you have to have is a butt to buy a TV, right?
Yeah.
You just sit and watch TV. But you can't sell a guitar to someone unless they learn to play it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So to me, that's why reason I tell that joke is because I always kind of push that on music stores all the time. Like, hey, if you're not helping teaching people, you know what I mean? Best Buy doesn't have to teach people to watch TV. They just sell TVs. Music stores have to help this process. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So I did that, and then and we talked about this that one time too. I started doing YouTube videos, and they started, kind of gaining momentum and sucking up more time. What I've learned is the YouTube is a black hole of time suck.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. And so, and then that's my next iteration. But either way, it doesn't matter. To me, what I think is funny is people look at it like, okay, you have a store, you build guitars, you have a YouTube channel. They look at it differently. I look at it as, this is just all the ways I've figured out how to be next to music.
To kind of go further on your channel side of things, I've been really watching your channel a lot since we met in person, but I had watched it before. But I've noticed the way that you approach YouTube is really unique in that, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you have a consistent publishing schedule or a certain day other than your live show, which seems to be, at least to me, the staple Phil McKnight thing on your channel right now. Can you talk about how you've approached like a publishing schedule or if you even think about that stuff?
Well, you said, that's why when we started this, you said, do you remember what would happen in the conversation? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gave me this tip. See, I hadn't had that much beer. You gave me this tip.
I think we were more jet lagged than anything.
And I haven't been able to put it into practice. But I'm very conscious of it, and I am striving for it. So it did fix one thing. And you were talking about consistency, right? You're very focused on this. It was like being consistent, making sure stuff comes out in a consistent way. And from that conversation, my observations now watching more YouTubers, I watch a lot of them, but now dissecting it that way, I'm noticing like your formula of your consistency is very effective because they rely on it. People can rely on when music is when is happening.
Yeah.
And so that the only thing so far I've been able to implement is, if you look since GitCon, since our conversation, like you said, my live broadcast at 3 on Friday is, I baby steps. I said that will happen every Friday. Before that, it was inconsistent. Sometimes I did them on Friday, sometimes I didn't. I'd push it to a Saturday. Mm-hmm. I was moving around. What I've learned from that, from your comment, is that live broadcast has skyrocketed it in performance.
Cool.
And it's very obvious. You can just click my history on that and look, the pre-GitCon, post-GitCon, that consistency improved. So I'm trying now, my next goal in life is to be consistent on putting a video out every Wednesday. So I have a video every Wednesday and a video every Friday. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to do, kind of like the live thing, is not just say I'm going to do that. Like once I do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I do it. A month and a half ago, I had a fever of 100 and something that I was dying, and I still did the live show at 3 o'clock because I was like, no, it's every Friday at 3.
Yeah.
Consistency. I thought that was a great tip, so I put it in practice.
Well, I'll expect my cut of all of your live earnings in the mail. But I'm really impressed by your live shows because I do live stuff kind of sporadically. I'm more of a, an editor, and I like to do content that's pre-made. But when I do live shows, I don't have even a quarter of as many people watching as you do, and the ratio of people who watch to your channel size is like magnificent compared to any channels that I watch. So is there something that you can pinpoint about your live shows and that you could, recommend other people look for if they're trying to be YouTube creators, or why people should come watch your live show? What's it all about?
Yeah. They should come watch the live show because of my cool haircut.
Oh yeah. No, that's actually the best part.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's at 3 o'clock Arizona time on Fridays.
Yes.
So Mountain time?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Basically. Yeah.
5 o'clock Eastern.
Yes. So what I think that's unique about it is, the reason I think this, I'll tell you the thing, because we both interviewed Paul Reed Smith, right?
Yeah.
And I loved your interview with Paul Reed Smith, and I'll tell you why, because of the way I do it, why I have a problem with having people on. Mm-hmm. I think what makes what the live broadcast is about is it's not about anybody but the people who watch.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Right? So think about this. Like right now, I'm a guest on your podcast.
Right.
So people get to learn about me, and I'm kind of excited about that because I have an opportunity to do that. I watched the Misha one, that you did on Monday, mm-hmm. and I got to learn about Misha. On my live show, if you think about it, the guests are the people who are watching.
Yep.
Because all I'm doing is just rapid fire answering their questions and having a quick conversation with them. It's really just it's like 30 micro guests.
Right? Yeah, that's really neat.
And so it's like, that's what I think I like about it. I think that's what people like about it.
Okay, well, with all that said, since you are seemingly a question master, or an answer master, I should say, I actually put out in my, have you used the YouTube community tab? It's kind of like Facebook for YouTube. I don't know how else to describe it.
I haven't used it, but I see yours.
Yeah, so I said, who's got questions for Phil? Anything goes.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to see, I'm going to ask, this is a little Q&A segment. If the human body is 90% water, why can't we put out fire with our bodies? Answer me this, Phil. Come on, Q&A master.
Oh, man. I think we do put out the fire. It's just a little too late.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, another weird one. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your favorite color of the alphabet? Interpret that one how you will.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He has no. We got him, guys.
Yeah.
Phil McKnight answers questions every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, but he can't answer that one. So don't ask him about the color of the alphabet. This is an interesting one. Can you play any other instrument besides guitar? This is kind of a trick question because you're not a guitar player first, are you?
No. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, yeah, I play bass. By far. So I play bass the majority of the time, and then I play guitar. And I would love to do bass, but, like I just did a bass video a week ago, and I got so many emails. And they're like, it was so great. Why don't you do more of that? Mm-hmm. And it literally was my lowest viewed video in the last, 3 months. And I'm like, probably because of that.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough when you try and do different styles of content and test them out. Like, my podcasts are probably the least viewed, unless it's a guest like you or somebody in the YouTube community where people actually know who they are. Because I never did long form content before, so people aren't necessarily accustomed to it. Okay.
Yes.
Another question here. How do you defeat guitar discouragement or discouragement on an instrument? I guess when you feel like you don't want to practice or you're down in the dumps, what do you do personally to get out of that?
Sure. You know what I do is I love to go see live music. I watch other musicians. Everybody's going to be different, what motivates them. Mm-hmm. But what I've found is, for me, and so I recommend it because it works for me, I'm never as fired up as when I'm either jealous.
Yep.
Right? Yep. You know what I mean? And I know that's kind of a horrible way to say it, but it's just true. Sometimes when you're standing in the crowd watching somebody amazing and you're like, man, why can't it be just 5% of that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you go and practice. And I find that's how I fight ruts. When I'm practicing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I go find some more inspiration. And there's lots of it out there. And now it's kind of, you can be lazy and just surf the YouTube and find it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But
who are some of your inspirations musically?
Sure. My favorite guitar player is Monty Montgomery, if you've never seen that guy.
I don't think I've ever heard of that person. Monty Montgomery?
Yeah, I think the reason he didn't make it as a huge platform is because just his name, you think he's like a country guy.
Yeah. I guess I did kind of. I just thought of Wes Montgomery.
Yeah,
but
Monty Montgomery is he plays an acoustic guitar but with an overdrive pedal and is phenomenal.
Well, he's about to get a nice little Google SEO bump because people are going to go look for him now. So that's, how did you find him?
You know how I found him was, believe it or not, he has his own Alvarez acoustic Yayiri acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. And one day, a rep for Alvarez was like, hey, have you ever seen the Monty Montgomery guitar? And I said, no. And they showed it to me. It was $3,500.
Wow. And
I thought, who? And it comes destroyed. Like, relic, but it's extremely relic, like destroyed.
Huh.
And they go, it's a clone of his 86 guitar that he's been beaten up because he uses his neck on the acoustic like a tremolo arm.
Oh, like to do the wavering thing?
Yes. Yeah. And So anyway, so I saw this guitar, and probably as you can imagine, I'm like, who's this guy who gets a $3,500 guitar?
Uh-huh.
And so here's what's funny. This is why the story's funny. I went and bought his CD.
Yep.
And I saw the rep a couple weeks later, and he goes, "What'd you think?" And I said, "He's good, but the guy playing the Strat is killing it." And he goes, "Dude, what are you talking about? It's a 3-piece band. He plays all the guitar. There's a bass player and a drummer." And I go, "No, there's a guy playing a Strat, and there's the acoustic in the background." He goes, "No, that's him. When he goes to do the solos, he just kicks in a light overdrive, and he plays like these Eric Johnson riffs on the acoustic with his fingers."
So you thought his acoustic guitar with an overdrive was a Strat?
Yeah, because it's got this just... It doesn't sound like when you think of an acoustic with an overdrive, you have a horrible picture in your head, right?
Yep.
And so to me, it was 2 levels for him. First level was finding out that he was actually playing that through an acoustic was an impressive thing. Mm-hmm. The second level was the first time I went and saw him live, realizing that he was playing that acoustic through a Boss Blues driver pedal into a Crate acoustic amp and getting that tone.
Yeah. It's just proof that it's all in the fingers.
Oh, absolutely, right? So, like I said, I highly recommend it. And if people are going to check him out, his version of Little Wing is very impressive.
Yeah.
On the acoustic.
Okay.
So
Monty Montgomery. Okay, a couple more questions here for you. Will you answer this question?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's see. Hold on. What kind of picks do you like? I want to know the answer to this.
Yeah. Right now I'm using Dava picks.
I knew you would say some Phil McKnight thing that I've never heard of.
Yeah, Dava picks.
So why are those good? It looks like it has a little grip on it or something, or is that just...
Yeah, they're rubber coated, and what they use is on the side of the pick there's 3 lines, okay? Mm-hmm. And there's a hinge in the middle of the pick. It's actually hinged.
Whoa.
And so if you hold the pick at the back of the pick, because of the hinge, it's the same as having a thin pick.
Right.
So if you're playing acoustic, it kind of is... I use the word thwappy.
Thwappy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good adjective.
And so if you move your thumb and finger to the second line, it's supposed to mimic a medium-sized pick because now you're holding the hinge tight.
Okay.
And if you pinch up to the last line, which is what I do a lot, where now none of the rubber is exposed anymore, mm-hmm. That's a heavy pick.
And it's good because usually when I'm pinched up towards the front of the pick like that, you can tend to lose the grip and it'll kind of fall back into your hand. So that helps with that. Okay, I'm going to have to check those out too.
Yeah, and I started using these because, you're a Berkeley grad, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a perfect example of why I actually got interested in these picks. I hang out with a lot of guitar instructors, and over time you start learning things about musicians that are schooled and unschooled. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I started learning was a lot of the Berkeley guys are really into where the pick is in their hand and placement and ergonomics and efficiency and wrist movements. And there's a lot of, they put a lot of thought into your picking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of driven into our skulls by those who are far superior to us in the classroom.
And me, I was so impressed by that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like so much thought put into something that a lot of people just physically just grab it and go to town with no thought, whatsoever.
Yeah.
When I saw this had a system to it, I was interested in it. Because a lot of the guys, I don't know if you can see it, but a lot of guys, like I'm curious. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of Berkeley guys. See, I hold the pick like every other person with the 2 fingers here and the thumb there, right?
Uh-huh.
But a lot of the Berkeley guys I see, they'll take their thumb and they put it across the pick like so.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, see? This, to me, this is the most impossible thing to do in the world. this movement.
Well, I could say that about what. So you had it like this.
Yes.
I'm looking at it.
Yep. Just like a caveman.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to grab my guitar. Let me just see. Look, I just played a chord that doesn't exist. That's the first thing I did. Yeah, man. Well, I think maybe the part of it is, like, I got it in 2 fingers here. and
Right.
it's on the inside of my index finger, like the top third of it. That's where it's kind of parallel with that. And it sits right in the pocket of the bending part of my thumb.
Right.
So it is kind of weird, I guess. But it gives me a versatility to plant or hover and do real fast stuff. As opposed to this, I feel like there's an adjustment on my wrist. I don't know. I think maybe it's just a leverage thing for me. So I can switch up my technique or my style depending on what kind of music I'm playing in an instant.
And I think, so what I've learned about that is, unfortunately, which seems to be the answer, is if you start out wrong holding a pick, it's hard to fix that later.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at Paul Gilbert or Petrucci or somebody who's just on another level, and they hold it a little bit. Everybody holds it a little bit different, and I would stress out in my earlier days when I was trying to be the best guitar player ever. It's like, I have to change everything. And the truth is, do what's comfortable. That's the one thing I've learned is if you're not feeling pain and you're accomplishing your goals, then just do what's comfortable. Certain techniques, I think, have to be facilitated by certain ergonomic changes, but for the most part, what type of guitar player you end up being will be the most natural way that you approach the instrument. So it's an ongoing process. I feel like I'm always making little tiny incremental changes here and there. Okay, that concludes part 1 of Phil McKnight. We're going to be back with part 2 over on Phil's channel, Phillip McKnight, the official name of that. And I am going to be on Phil's live show, which again is every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we are going to be taking all your questions live, and I'm hopefully going to make the show even better than it already is. Otherwise, Phil's never going to talk to me again. So if you're listening or watching this podcast today, March 30th, then go over to Phil's channel at 5 p.m. Eastern and hang out with us.